Hello! Thank you for watching this video on how to make a budget that actually works. Budgets can work, and most of us have never had a budget that worked because we were never given the proper tools to make a budget that worked. We were never shown how to actually make a budget that works. We've been told we need budgets, we've been told we need to make budgets, we've even been told we need to write all our expenses down, but never been shown how to actually make a budget that works and helps us. Download the budget worksheet. When you download that worksheet, print it out, fill it out. Fill it out for what you think your budget currently is, for what you think you are currently spending. Fill out everything as best you can. You may need to look back at some bank statements or credit card records. That's okay. Take your time and fill it out to show what your current spending is. You see, to create a great budget, you'll need to know what your current spending is. So go ahead and fill it out. When you're done filling it out, you may notice that you're about 20% overspent every month. Well, this is a good indicator on why you may be accruing debt, why that debt load might be growing. That's okay. We have a little bit of an understanding here. You see, the average person will find that they're overspending by about 20% every month. And our goal is to not overspend anymore. But to do that, we need a budget that works. And before we can have a budget that works, we need to understand what our spending is. That's why it's so important to first fill out the budget worksheet, not on what you want your budget to be, but on what you are currently spending. It's eye-opening, and it gives us the background information we need to move forward and create a budget that works. After you've filled out your budget form, after you see your current spending, the next step is to go ahead and write an actual budget. So print out another round of sheets of budget worksheets and fill it out. Fill it out on where you would like your budget to be. The ultimate goal here is to have your budget be at least 5% less than what you're taking home in your paycheck. That's right, you want to make your budget for 5% less than what you're currently taking home. For a budget to work, you need to spend less than you make. You'll need to have money for savings. You'll need to have money for other expenses. So you need to budget less money than you actually make. Now you'll go through your budget, line by line by line, looking for areas where you can cut some expenses down from what they currently are. Compare what your expenses were versus what your goal is to have your expenses be. You need to be reasonable here. You need to cut expenses where you really can, but not overcut expenses. You see, if you go out to eat and you spend lots of money every month eating out, you can't just cut eating out down to $0. That's unrealistic. What will happen is you'll give up. You'll decide this budgeting stuff is too hard. Staying on track is too difficult. You've cut too many things out and you'll give up. So don't cut things down to zero, but maybe cut them down a little bit. Plan a little better. So for eating out, I'm a big fan of eating out. So I have the same struggle, and most people like to eat out. What you need to do, let's just hypothetically say you've been spending $500 a month eating out. And now you need to make some cuts. We don't reduce our eating out budget line by $500 and make it zero. That's ridiculous. See, you'll give up. Maybe you can cut it down to $200. That's a lot less eating out, but we still have money to eat out. You'll need to make those determinations for yourself. How far is too far? But your budget can always be adjusted in future months, so we can take baby steps. Maybe month 1 we only cut a little bit of money out of eating out. Maybe month 2 we cut a little bit more, and we keep pushing that a little bit further. Remember, we do need to cut enough to make our budget work. We need to cut enough expenses to make our budget equal 5% less of what we're taking home. That's the goal. If you can cut it a little bit further, great. You need to make sure you're being reasonable when you make these budget cuts. It's okay to have money to eat out. It's okay for little luxuries. But there are times when we need to sacrifice a little bit and cut them a little farther than maybe we want to. Maybe we can find some other categories to make cuts from. Wherever we find the money, great, find the money, but don't cut things too much. That will make it stressful to stay on budget and make you want to give up. You may need to consider the cable bill. See, most people don't realize, but cable is extremely expensive, and most cable companies offer a very basic package that they don't advertise and don't tell anyone about. You can call the cable company and ask for the most basic cable they offer. Usually it's about $13 a month. Now granted, that's just your basic major networks, but it's something. It's better than no cable, but it's not several $100s a month for all the premium channels you currently have. Cable is a great place to cut money. There are lots of other areas, a lot of other tricks that I'll share with you over time, but you need to start looking. Sometimes you can call companies like the cable company and ask them, what better pricing can you give me? And you may need to define that for them, because frequently they'll come back and say, well, we got a better deal, but it'll cost you more money. And you will need to remind them that I'm not looking for a better deal. I'm looking to spend less money. And that you may need to remind them several times, I'm not looking for a better deal. I'm looking to spend less money. I'm not looking to add more stuff just so it seems like a better deal. I'm looking to spend less money. What if you have a variable income? You see, it's easy to budget when you have a steady paycheck. The same paycheck week after week, month after month, year after year. You know exactly how much money to expect. But when your income is variable or inconsistent, it makes it a little bit harder. There are several ways that we can handle a variable income. One way that you can handle it is you plan your budget for your lowest income month. What historically has been your lowest income month? How much money is that? Plan your budget based on that. And then all the extra money we'll use for savings and your debt snowball. We'll talk about the debt snowball and savings options later. But if you can make your budget work on the smallest income month, that would make life very easy for you in planning your budget. Another option for handling a variable income is to take all of your income and put it in a savings account. And then weekly, you do a draw out of that savings account for what you want your income to be. So say you want your weekly income or your weekly budget to be $500. Every week, you draw $500 from the savings account. All of your income goes into the savings account. So this week, if you make $600, $600 goes into the savings account, but you only draw $500 out. Now say next week you only made $400. You can still draw $500 out of the account because the extras from the good weeks were accumulating in that account, allowing you to have money on the bad weeks. You do need to watch that account and make sure you're not drawing it down too fast during bad times. If that happens, you will need to adjust your budget to a lower amount to accommodate the lack of income. But usually this is a great way to smooth out your income and have it be consistent. When planning your budget, you'll notice the first budget line on the budget form is giving or tithing. Tithing is extremely important. I highly recommend you tithe to your church, but you can give money wherever you wish. Humans were designed to give. Studies have shown time and time again that the person who gives is an emotionally healthier person and a physically healthier person. It affects who you are, both mentally and physically. So it's very important to make sure you are giving something, somewhere. It's very important to be a giver. Whether you give to somebody in need, or you give to a charity, or you give to your church, you need to give. You need to plan to give. You must give something. As part of your budget, make sure you are giving something. You'll also need to plan savings. This is why I said your budget needs to be 5% less than you make. Because the extra 5% will be for savings and paying down debt. It's important to have this extra money. And a budget is simply a plan for how you will spend your money. A budget is only a plan. It's just a plan for how you will spend your money. So remember, the budget is a guideline and it's a plan. But you see, this plan won't work if you're not disciplined. The key to your finances is your behavior. Not everybody else's behavior, your very own behavior. If your budget isn't working, the only person you can blame is yourself. If you're overspending, it's your fault, not somebody else's fault. You need to take personal responsibility for your personal finances. Your finances are your responsibility. You will need discipline to stay on budget. It's important to be disciplined, to know that you have a goal and you want to keep working towards this. It will take discipline to manage your money. You can do it. It's possible. I know you can do it. You will also need goals. Write these goals down. Write down approximately 7 goals, a couple short-term goals, a couple medium goals, a couple long-term goals. Write your goals down. It's very important to have them written down. Post this goal sheet in your closet, on your bathroom mirror, maybe on your refrigerator, somewhere where you will see your goals frequently. You see, when you see these goals, it's a constant reminder of why you're working on this budget, why you're trying to keep your expenses in control. What reasons do you have for doing this? Maybe you would like a vacation to Alaska or Hawaii. Maybe you would like to buy a house. I don't know what your goals are, but you do. And when you write them down, it gives you something to strive for. It gives you a reason to keep going on the days when you just want to give up. It's very important to have goals. So write them down and post them somewhere where you will see them. You may want to write them down on 2 separate sheets of paper. Put one on the refrigerator and one on the bathroom mirror so you see them more frequently. It's great. Have goals. Goals are important. Your goals can change over time. They're not written in concrete. They're not written in stone. Your goals are written on paper. If you change your mind on what your goals are, change your goal sheet. You can do that. It's great. You change your mind. You have a new set of goals, write them down. Keep that goal sheet updated. You also need to learn to be content with what you have. We so frequently look at our neighbors and see them drive that shiny new car into their driveway, and then we want one too. We so often let what others have make us unhappy and want things that we don't need. 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and have no savings. 80% of Americans are broke. You don't want to be like 80% of Americans. You want to be different. You don't want to be broke. You don't want to live paycheck to paycheck and have no savings. So don't worry about what everybody else has. Only worry about what you have and what you need. Be content with the things you have. There's nothing wrong with what you have. Just because somebody else has something newer and shinier doesn't mean you need it, and it doesn't make it better. Matter of fact, the paid for stuff you have is far better than the stuff that everybody else has because they have loans on most of that stuff anyway. You don't need loans on everything. It's so freeing to have everything and to own it with your money, no debt. Be content with what you have. What you have is what you need. You don't need what everybody else has. Don't worry about what everybody else has. I can't say this enough because we do struggle with this. Everybody struggles with being content. But you can be content. Be content with what you have. Don't look at what everybody else has and want it. It's not important what everybody else has. A budget is no good if you don't follow it. First, you need to know exactly how much you take home in your paycheck every week or every pay cycle. Most people can tell me what their hourly wage is or what their salary is, but they usually can't tell me exactly how much money comes home in their paycheck. You see, your budget needs to be based on how much money comes home. Your gross pay, your hourly wage or your salary, really isn't all that important right now because that's not the money you have available to spend. The only money that you have available to spend is the money that really comes home in your paycheck. And there are a lot of deductions from your paycheck. So knowing the amount that actually comes home is extremely important to making your budget work. You must know exactly how much comes home, so you know exactly how much you have available to spend, so you know exactly how much you can budget. You will need to track every single expense you have. Every penny counts. Write it down. It doesn't matter what format you use, but you need to write it down. And when you write it down, write down the expenses in budget categories. Don't overspend any category. If you find you budgeted $500 for groceries, but you really needed $600, you can't just add $100 to the grocery category. You need to find that money somewhere. You'll need to subtract it from somewhere else and then add it to the grocery column. You will need to add that money to the category where you need it only after you subtract it from somewhere else. You see, you can't just add money to your budget because you didn't just make more money. You only have so much money available. So make sure when you spend money in one category, you track it and you know how much is left. When you need more money in another category, you need to subtract it from somewhere. Your budget always must equal the same amount of money. If it doesn't always equal the same amount of money, you'll be overspending. The first time you do your budget, it won't be right. That's okay. You can make a new budget, you can adjust your budget, you can keep working the budget to get it right. It may take 3 months to get it right, maybe longer. That's okay. And again, your budget is not written in stone. You can adjust over time. Should your expenses change or your needs change, you can write a new budget. It may be very similar, but again, you only have so much money to spend, so you'll need to adjust the budget to fit your new expenses, or your new lifestyle, or those changes that you need to make. But your budget can never be more money than you make. Your budget should always be 5% less than you make. So if you need to adjust, make sure you adjust it so that it still fits within the amount of money you make. What do we do with the extra money in our budget? We had planned our budget to be 5% less than we make. Well, we are going to use that money to build an emergency fund and to pay down debt. First, we need to understand when we write our budget with all of our debts getting paid the minimum amount due each month. That's okay, because we have a plan. Every debt, every credit card, we are only going to pay minimums. No more than that in our budget. See, we will use the extra money to pay down those debts in a systematic method that works. So plan your budget based on minimums, and now is when we attack paying more than that to make the debts go away. What I'm about to say may not seem logical, but it works. You see, most people who follow logic never succeed in paying down their debt and give up. 80% of people who follow the debt snowball succeed. This plan works. Although it may not seem like logic, it works. The reason it works is because it gives you small wins on a regular basis. Those small wins give you the encouragement to keep going. And when you have those encouragements and you want to keep going, you reach the end goal. The end goal here is to get out of debt, and then to have free money to use for whatever you wish. So, the way we do this is we use a debt snowball. Download that sheet and print it out. Now, on this sheet, you will list all of your debts from the smallest amount to the largest amount, based on the balance on the debt. Don't worry about the interest rates. Don't worry about minimum payments. Only worry about the balance due, the total amount on that loan or on that credit card. List them in order from smallest to largest. Now, what we'll do with the extra money in our budget, first thing we want to do is put $1,000 in a savings account. You see, that $1,000 is our emergency fund. If something goes wrong, we use that $1,000. Now, it may take several months to get $1,000 in there, because our budget probably doesn't have $1,000 extra every month. So it may take a little bit of time to save $1,000. But every extra dollar beyond our budget goes towards that savings account. Once that savings account is full, we use the money to start paying off that first debt on our list, the smallest debt. Every extra dollar we have, we use to pay down that debt. When that debt is gone, we move on to the next one. Every extra dollar we have goes towards that next one on the list, and we keep going down the list until every one is gone. Now, if something happens and we need to use our emergency fund, that's okay. Take money out of the savings account that you put your emergency fund in. Pay for that expense. And then pause the idea of paying down extra on debts until you refill the emergency fund. That way, the next time something happens, the emergency fund is there for you to use again. See, it's not a question of if an emergency will happen. It's really a question of when will the emergency happen. So we need to plan for it. That way we don't go back into debt to pay for the emergency. That way we don't use credit cards or loans to handle an emergency. Now, while we are paying down debt, we also want to pause our retirement savings. Your debt is costing you more than the retirement money will make you. So only for a short period of time are we going to do this while we pay down debt. We pause savings for retirement. We can pause corporate sponsored plans as well as our personal plans. Take all that money and use it in your budget to pay down debt. Make this debt go away. It's costing you a lot of money every month to pay for this debt load. Once the debt is gone, we can restart retirement savings. But until then, use the money to get rid of the debt. Also, while you are paying down debt, you don't want to be paying education expenses for your children, whether it be in a savings account for your children's education or their current college tuition. You see, if you don't have an opportunity to save money for their college, that's okay. They can pay for college. They can work their way through school and pay for college. The student who works their way through school statistically does better than the student who doesn't need to work while they are in college. It may sound odd, but statistically, it's better for your children anyway to work their way through college. Also, there are lots of scholarships and grants available to college students, but there are no scholarships or grants available to pay for your debt. And if you get to retirement age and still have a pile of debt, it will make it very difficult to retire, and nobody's going to pay for your retirement. So you need to pause paying for your child's education while you work on the goal of getting out of debt. Once you are out of debt and you are funding your retirement, you can then have the money available to pay for education. Some practical things that you can do to help yourself stay on budget is shop with a list. Regardless of what store you go to, make a list before you go there and only buy the things on your list. If it's not on the list, you don't buy it. You see, stores are very good at setting up displays and the pattern of the store to make you buy more stuff while you are there. So go into the store armed with a shopping list and only buy the things on the list. Don't buy extras while you're there. It's very, very tempting to go to the store and be tempted to buy more stuff than you need. More stuff than what you thought you were going to buy. More stuff than what's on your list. So when you go to the store, go armed with a list and only buy what's on your list. Plan your groceries on a calendar. Print out a blank calendar for every month. Write down every meal that you want to eat that month. You see, this will help you in a lot of ways. By planning your meals, you'll know what you're going to be eating. So when you get home tired at night, you won't have to rummage through the refrigerator and the freezer looking for something to eat, then get frustrated and decide to go out to eat tonight. You will already have a plan. It will save you a lot of money knowing you have a plan. It will also let you know exactly what groceries you need to buy this week. You can look at the plan and see, oh, these are the exact groceries I need. Write your grocery list and go to the store and make sure you have the right groceries when you come home. Also, planning out your meals will make sure that you're not eating the same thing night after night after night. When you come home tired and you don't want to cook anymore and you don't want to plan that meal, we frequently just throw together the old staple. So we find Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, we had the same thing just because it was easy and we're sick and tired of eating the same thing, which drives us to want to go out to eat. When you plan your meals, you can plan them so that you're not eating the same thing night after night after night. You can make sure there's enough spacing between repeats. When you plan your meals on a calendar, it also makes it easier to go grocery shopping once a month. You will save a lot of time. Instead of shopping every week, you could shop once a month, and you will save a lot of money. You see, every time you go to the grocery store, you seem to pick up stuff that you don't need, even when you have a list. So the less you need to go to the store, the less likely and less tempting it is to buy extra things. So if you can do that, that'd be great. Stock the freezer full of food for the month. You may need to go back for milk and produce, things that do not last a month. But that's okay. Then when you do go back to the store, you get in, you get out. You get only the things you need and get back out of the store. Remember, you also need to track every penny that's spent. Every penny needs to be tracked, and every penny needs to come out of a budget category. There is no just extra money. It doesn't exist. It's all accounted for in your budget. Every penny needs to be tracked against a budget category. Meet with your spouse on a regular basis to go over the budget. See how you're doing. See areas where you may need to adjust, and make sure you're both on the same page. When you're in a relationship and there's two of you, using the same budget money. What's important is you both have your budget categories that you are responsible for. If one of you does the grocery shopping, that's the person who tracks the grocery money. But if the other person in the relationship goes to the grocery store, they need to make sure that there's money available to go to the grocery store and let the person know that you spent money from that category. You will also need to divide up things like gasoline. How much money do each of you need for gasoline? And you are both responsible for your own gasoline budgets. Make sure you meet on a regular basis so that you're both on the same page and you both know how much money is left, and you can both work together at staying on budget and staying on track. Also, when you write your budget, you should both work together to write the budget. You may not both agree completely, but you can both compromise and work together. When one person writes the budget and expects the other person to just follow it, your budget won't work. You need to come together and work together on that budget. You need to adjust it together. You need to be on the same page on your budget. That's the only way your budget will work. Also, ask questions from those you trust. Ask questions from those you trust. Not Uncle Herb, who doesn't know anything about money, but somebody who's truly responsible with money and has your best interest in mind. Not your friend who wants to go out to eat with you every single night. Ask people you trust. It's important to have people that you can talk to. When times get tough, call them up. Let them know times are tough. You need a person that you can rely on who will give you good, sound advice, who will help you towards your goals. One more practical thing to talk about. When somebody asks you out to eat, say a friend calls you up and says, "Hey, let's go out for dinner." You need to look in your budget and see if you have money to go out to eat. If you don't, offer an alternative. Why don't you come over to my house tonight? We'll play cards, we'll have some snacks, and we'll have a good time, but it won't cost us any extra money. See, you can also use your budget as an excuse. When somebody asks you to go spend money, you can say, "I'm sorry, I don't have money in my budget right now." When you say, "I don't have money," people say, "Oh, come on, you've got money, come on out and spend it." But when you say, "I don't have money in my budget," it catches them off guard, and they realize you have a goal, and they accept that answer. Use your budget as an excuse to not overspend. It's a very important step to being disciplined and staying on track. Knowing when to say no. You need to be able to say no. And it's okay to say no. When something breaks or when something goes wrong, you don't need to run to the store and buy new items. Frequently online, you can find items for free or discounted. It may not be the exact model that you wanted, but that's okay. If it will work for now and carry you through until you have cash on hand to buy a new one, great. Use it to your advantage. Stay on budget, stay on track. If the washing machine breaks, I see those online all the time for free. People who are giving them away. Look online, pick one out, go pick it up, put it in. You saved a ton of money. You see, we don't need to go to the store every time we want something or every time something breaks. It's okay to buy used. It's okay to accept free stuff. That will help you stay on track. When your budget works, it gives you goals, it gives you direction. When your budget works, it will give you that motivation to keep on going, to get rid of that debt, to get to the point where you have tons of extra money. That money can be used for any purpose that you want. Once your debt is gone, it will be very freeing. You won't have to worry about making those payments every month. You won't need to work an endless job just to pay for debt and not enjoy your life. You'll have money to give away if you want to give it to somebody. You'll have money to go on vacations that you have dreamed of going on. You'll have money for what you need and want money for. But first you need to plan a budget that works, and stay on budget. Then you need to pay down your debt and get rid of it. Then you can live that financially free life that you always wanted. It is possible. It's very possible. But it's going to take work on your part. It's not hard to do, but it does take work, and you need to stay on track. You can do it. If you need help, give me a call. I'm happy to help you do it. I'm happy to help you achieve financial freedom. Have a great day.